Hi, guys. This is Elba with Broken Journey, the podcast, a podcast that talks about broken journeys in life, as well as bonus topics like domestic violence, Hispanic Heritage Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and other topics I will be talking about along the way. My hope is that by listening to these testimonies, it will give you the courage to overcome your own broken journey. Let's create a masterpiece from our broken pieces. Guys, you can listen to our podcast on major platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and we are now available on Amazon Music Podcasts and iHeartRadio. So, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy this podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Broken Journey _ the podcast. And if you enjoy any of these episodes, please feel free to share them with your friends. We never know who we might be helping in this time in their life. Bye, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to Broken Journey, the podcast. I am your host, Elba Rivera. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're having a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Whenever it is that you're listening to this podcast, I hope that you're having a good day so far. Today, we're going to be talking about people pleasing. And I kind of chose this topic because sometimes people can confuse people pleasing with being a nice person, right? Or being a helpful person. What is a people pleaser? A person who puts other needs ahead of their own. They tend to agree with everything, when in reality, they don't always agree. They have trouble advocating for themselves. People pleasers are oftentimes looking for approval from others. People pleasing can be a symptom of a mental health condition like anxiety or depression, codependency, social anxiety, or low self esteem. And so, what are some of the causes? And some of the causes are the poor, like I said, poor self esteem. Sometimes people engage with people pleasing behavior because they don't have value for their own desires. Insecurity. There are people who are insecure with themselves. They are unhappy with themselves, or they feel like in order to please that other person, that'll make them happy, but putting their happiness on the back burner. And some people are perfectionists. So they'll just do it to accommodate whatever it is that they're doing, right? And then past experiences, that are painful, difficult, trauma experiences that also play a role in people pleasing, right? And sometimes these things can stem from childhood trauma, right? Um, like, let's say, for instance, trying to be accepted by your mom or your dad, right? Feeling like they're not giving you enough love. Or let's say, for an example, your whole life you've been trying to please your mother because she's always put you down, or you were never good enough, or she would compare you to your siblings, and let's say that you had a brother or a sister who was a high achiever. And so you really weren't a high achiever like like your sister and your brother, so she would or he would, and he or she meaning your parent, would put you down because that person was doing better, right? And some of these symptoms are part of trauma, childhood trauma. And after a while being that kind of person, and let's distinguish the two between being a nice person, being a helpful person, and being a people pleaser, right? Cuz I'm a very helpful person. I like sometimes to go above and beyond certain things, to do certain things, but I don't always do that. Right? If I don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm going to say no. Or if I feel in a work environment that I have an over amount, I have too much of a workload and they want to add more, I will tell them no. I have no problem saying no. Um, so let's, distinguish the two, right? And there are effects behind being a people pleaser. And some of those effects are anger and frustration, anxiety and stress, lack of willpower, the lack of authenticity, and weak relationships, right? Because sometimes people pleasers get into relationships, and not only, sexual relationships, or, partner relationship, also friendships. They get into these relationships where they tend to be people pleasers, and they can get into relationships with people who are controlling, or people who have um an aggressive behavior. And so after a while, that person is going to get angry and frustrated because they don't know how to stand up for themselves, right? And you know that person will be taken advantage of, and then they feel regret, or they feel angry with themselves because they allow it. And then we have the anxiety and stress, where you know when you get to this point, it's like whenever you see that person, it's like, oh my god, what do I got to do today to please this person? Or let's say, you're in a relationship where this person is constantly playing you dirty, let's say, right? Or that person does things that gets you irritated, but you don't know how to say that. You start to feel anxiety, like, oh my god, what is that person going to do? Or I'm using, like, having another outside relationship when it comes to a partner, where you don't trust that person because they've played you dirty before, right? And you're saying, okay, this person is saying, oh, I'm going to go out with my friends, but you have anxiety, or you're stressed because you're like, is he really going to go out with his friends? Or is he going to go see another girl? Or is he going to go do this? Or he's going to go and do that? So, you know, those are things that you need to think about when you see a person who's people pleasing. And again, you need to know, if you know someone that is that way, don't take advantage of them, right? Um, Try to help them through it. Eventually, that person has to do everything on their own. They have to be able to set boundaries and things like that. However, don't take advantage of that person because you know that they're a people pleaser, right? And we also have the lack of willpower. You know, some researchers suggest that the willpower and self control may be limited resources. And if you're using your mental resources to make that other person happy, then what happened to your own happiness, right? You don't devote enough time to yourself. And so when that person says, come on, let's go do this, let's go do this, let's go do that, and you really don't want to, you're just like, okay, just to be approved by that person or those people, or you know ac- actually group of friends, and whatever the case may be. And then, the lack of authenticity is basically, you know you're not being authentic with your own life. You're not living your life authentically because you feel like, okay, well, I gotta please this person, I gotta make believe that this is how I want to live my life, when in reality that's not how you want to live. But you just don't know how to change that. You don't know how to say, listen, I really don't want to go there, or no, this is not what I want to do. Or even saying, I'm sorry, today I can't go and help you move, let's say, right? Let's say you have an appointment with a friend to have lunch, and another friend goes and tells you, hey, I need you to come and help me move on this day at this time. And it's the same time you have lunch with that other person, and you tell them yes, right? Just to please them. I'm not talking about you forgetting that it was on your calendar because that happens. But, saying, oh, yeah, 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 I'll help you. And then you're stuck in a bind because you have two appointments at the same time, when you can't be at two places at the same time. So, make sure that you're living authentically, you're living your life the way you want to, on your terms, not on other people's terms, and not to please every single person. And then lastly, we have weak relationships. When you are in a relationship, you you want to be able to have your voice heard as well, right? You don't, and when I say relationship, a lot of the times we think a relationship of um sorry, we think about of a spouse relationship, right? And relationships also come in friendship, right? And you, again, want to be too attentive, you want to grant them everything that they're asking you to do, and that's not pleasing. you know um there's a distinction between doing things to be nice and doing things because you're a people pleaser. So make sure that you put yourself in mind about what you want to do, and if it makes you feel good by helping this person, then that's okay. But if you do not feel good, or you do not feel comfortable, then don't do it, right? So, how do we stop people pleasing? One is set boundaries. You always want to set boundaries. And if you've never set boundaries before with people, then you need to start today. You need to start setting boundaries today, because the people who love you, the people who are truly your friends, will understand that you need to set boundaries. Think before committing. Really think before you commit. Look at your calendar. Or if a person invites you somewhere and you're not sure, just say, you know what, let me check my calendar. Let me make sure that I don't have something on my calendar before committing, and I'll get back to you. And if this is something that you don't want to do, say, hi, I'm sorry, I can't make it today. And that's it. There's no need to give a whole slew of explanations. Just tell them, I'm sorry, I can't make it today. Can we reschedule? And reschedule. There's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with rescheduling. um Set your priorities first, right? What are your values? What are, things that you need to get done first for you, right? For your family, right? And then you can say, yes, I can commit to this, you know, but, again, your family included. They, there's a lot of times that we commit to things for the family because they're family. And there's a lot of times that we put our priorities second to our family. And this includes your children, this includes your husband. Sometimes you have to have me time, and that means being alone, especially mothers. Mothers tend to, let's say, serve everybody else and you have the last plate, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do that often. But when we have a big gathering, I get my plate and everybody get their own plate. You know what I'm saying? Serve yourselves, not you serving everybody and then sitting down last. But some people like to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you need to set boundaries. You need to put yourself first, because if you don't put yourself first, you cannot give from an empty cup. Your cup needs to be full in order for you to give back and give to others, right? And be okay with people not liking the new you. It is what it is. That's it. They have to accept the fact that this is the new you. And if they don't like it, again, like I said, they're not real friends and they're not real family. They're not real spouses. They shouldn't even be in your life, because a real person who truly loves you will understand that you are setting boundaries. Listen to your inner voice. If you feel uncomfortable about something, then don't do it. Learn how to say no. And no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain yourself. Just tell that person, no, I can't make it. No, I can't do that right now. And that's it. You don't need to explain yourself. And lastly, be true to yourself. You have to live with your decisions. So why live miserably, right? Why do you want to live miserable? I don't want to live miserable. I want to live good. I want to live happy with my decisions. I want to live with knowing that, yes, I have touched somebody's life. Yes, I have helped people in my life. Yes, I have done things to, um how do you say that? I have done many different things, right? Because if I start thinking about everything that I'm doing, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. But don't feel like you have to please everybody in your life, because there's going to be times that you're going to say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Plain and simple. It is what it is. And people are just going to have to deal with it.
However they deal with that, that's their problem. That's not yours. That's not your problem to handle. Your problem is to handle what you feel like doing, what you don't feel like doing, and your decisions and your consequences, right? You don't want to go through a whole slew of frustration for no reason when you could have just said no. Just say no. But anyway, guys, I hope that this episode has helped you. And if you know someone who is a people pleaser, help them out. Help them understand that it's okay to say no. And if you are a people pleaser, start setting boundaries. There are so many self help books out there that you can read that'll help you with people pleasing. It'll help you with setting goals, with priorities. There are so many books out there. You can Google them. Google is like my best friend. I go search for stuff there. Sometimes there are things that I don't want to read there, but overall, look for books, look for how self-help things. You can also, go get counseling. There's nothing wrong with getting counseling. Um, so yeah, guys, I hope this episode has helped you. I hope that you share this episode with other people. And again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of People Pleasing. Bye, guys.